so prepare for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step up, don't feel it.
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
Release the princess so prepare for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step up, don't feel it.
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
It's March. Well, it's the end of March. It's madness. The madness doesn't have to end at the end of March, I must point out. However, this year, the madness struck me early in the year in January, and I had this fever dream of DCC RPG as a March Madness style tournament, complete with brackets and groups and 6 rounds of community voting. I must have been crazy. But we have made it to this ultimate evening, the finale of insanity. Sometime later this hour, the Judges J of the Spellburn will crown the champion of madness, the supreme publication of the DCC third-party community. 64 titles started in this tournament. Then the people have spoken. And tonight we will choose the champion of madness. Who will it be? Carnival of the Damned, written by David Beatty, published by the Purple Sorcerer, or Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland, written by Brian Shutter and published by Super Savage Systems. We will find out tonight on this episode of Spellburn March Madness. And I'm Judge James, and with me I have, of course, the illustrious other Judges J. Take it away, Jen. Introduce yourself.
I'm not used to having to introduce myself. Usually I have people who do that for me.
Oh,
Hi,
wow.
I'm Jen.
And I am Judge Julian.
and tonight with us we have our finalists, of course, and a special guest, Spellburn Special March Madness analyst, Judge Stefan Surratt.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be impartial. I've written for Weird Frontiers, so that's not up for the finale. And I've third party, and I've done a little bit of third party for Neon Lord. So, I have my my gloves in each of their wallets. But I'll try to be impartial.
Excellent, excellent. Well done. And then we have the author of Carnival of the Damned, Sheriff David Beatty. Is that what they call judges in Weird Frontiers? I don't know.
There's probably a lot of names you can't say on air, but most people say Dark Marshal, so I guess I'll let that stick.
All right. Welcome. And publisher and creator of Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland, the Neon Lord, Brian Shutter.
Always a pleasure to be on this fantastic show.
Thank you. Well, let's just get into this. Normally we have tavern talk, but this time it's ye old sports bar talk because it's sportsy. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know what I'm doing here.
I like it.
All right. So let's take a minute and then we'll go into the tavern talk, sports bar talk, whatever. All right. Well, guys, it has been a fantastic month. You guys have amass your forces to participate in the tournament. And I'm just gonna hopefully you all like filled out brackets. I got mine right here. All filled out. No, no, it's just me. Is this just for me? Oh no, somebody else has got one. Gosh, I thought I was going to be alone. Like we've done all this stuff, and then nobody
It is printed,
did any.
but I did vote.
You did vote. All right.
I voted every round. I put it on the newsletter. I do not have a physical bracket to hold up though.
Oh, see, it's nothing without. It's not a real bracket unless it's printed. That's what
It's true.
they say. I think.
I'll know for next year when you do this again.
Oh, we're talking about that already. All right,
I think
maybe.
Weird Frontiers needs a redo. So yeah.
All right, Judge Jen, how about your thoughts on the tournament so far? The various
That's
rounds
rough,
and
man.
whatever.
I was not expecting it to be quite so rough. I was really surprised to see, I don't know, like a lot of the zines are also adventures. They're also supplements. So I think it was really hard to group things together that way. We also had a couple things that weren't really DCC, like the WHRP. I'm sorry, WHPA. No.
And
Yeah.
Neon Lords, if you want to get
Yeah.
technical.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's not, one of the licensed products, it's kind of hard to justify putting it in the ring, even though it's by the same, it's by associated authors, and I'm a purist at heart. So I found this very difficult, James.
It was really hard on me too, as we had the nomination form out there, and the votes all came back, and there's lots of different titles, lots of different people, stuff that wasn't even in print yet was being suggested as this has to be in the tournament. And so it's this really weird mix of titles that were current, like very current, or just finished a Kickstarter, just finished a backer kit, those kinds of things, or like really old titles like Carnival of the Damned, for instance, and other things that are like way, way, way back. And then, if you throw in here on top of all that, like somebody nominated or several people nominated things like um, the Purple Sorcerer, character generator. And that was like, well, what do I do with that? I mean, obviously it's important. Should I kick it out? I mean, someone took the time to vote. So it was tough. What do you have to say about Neon Lord, Brian Shutter? What do you have to say about non-DCC titles being in the tournament?
I think well, you definitely shouldn't have been in the tournament, but I'm happy to still be here. I mean, I didn't nominate myself, so whoever nominated me, I appreciate it. But for realistically purist standpoint wise, it should strictly be like Weird Frontiers and like all the great, like closely adjacent DCC, MCC, XCC, propane accessories type things, I think. For future, I'll take the win tonight, and then we can move on from there. That's
all. And Judge David, what are your thoughts on the tournament thus far?
I think it's a cool idea. I would have never thought about it, and I think that I don't know how you narrowed it down, because since the Carnival Dam was wrote, I mean, there's so many products that come out. It's just like, I don't know. It's every time you look around, there's like 5 or 10 new things that I haven't got, and then there's 20 or 30 things that I haven't had time to read. So I don't see how you narrowed it down, but I guess, with folks, sending in their submissions, that was great. And the fact that somebody even thought that it's almost like, when you talk about a song or a TV show and you're in a younger crowd and they're like, what? Scooby Who? And it's almost like with Carnival of the Dam, you expect people, I mean, that's almost 10 years ago. So think about how many products have probably dropped since then. And the fact that someone still, finds that memorable to me is really cool.
Yeah. Multiple people. It wasn't, in the nomination process, there weren't a lot of votes. There was maybe, I want to say was it 35 people or something to that effect, that people that came and actually filled it out. So at the end, it was easy to see who was at the top. They'd get, several votes, 4, 5, 6 votes, 8 votes. But then at the bottom, those ones where you got onesies or you got ties, like, it became hard to decide who goes where. And what I decided to do there was actually go to Drive Through RPG and see what badge status the book had, like how many copies of this has sold. Things like Hubris got in there as a number one, as a number 14 seed or something like that. There's only one vote for that title in that nomination.
Yeah, but you
But
think about it, that's almost, if not, that may be a little older than Carnival. I mean,
right,
that's a pretty old book. So that's probably a lot of people don't even know that book's out there, which is a shame because,
Yeah,
Mike put
let's get
such
my
a lot
your
of work
books
in that.
aren't old. They're classics.
they're classics,
Vintage.
vintage.
Yes.
You do this for a few years and then you turn around and it's like been 5 or 10. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Stefan, what do you think of the tournament thus far?
I think it's really great. I think, my publisher brain wants to be like, oh, what does it mean that this won and that lost? Is Jungle Tomb of the Mummy Bride truly better than the Arwich Grinder? Or is it
Right.
just like impressive because it's way bigger? So that but it was really great to see it. It was exciting. And it was fun to, be like, yes, it's on to another round, and oh no, it didn't make it. I voted for Arwich. I love you, Levi, but I did vote for Arwich.
Me too. Me too. In fact, that broke my bracket like completely into a million pieces when Arwich Grinder lost.
Yeah, that's probably the funnel that I've ran the most since I've been doing, and with Weird Frontiers, it makes an amazing funnel for Weird Frontiers.
Oh, for sure.
I'm
Shutter
actually,
Mountains too, right?
yeah, I've
Yeah.
talked to Daniel quite a bit, just seeing if he might want to write a sequel to it just for, Weird Frontiers.
I literally today online, someone's going, I want a weird Frontier 0 through 3 thing I can run for some noobs. I suggested starting with Arwich Grinder.
It's the best.
It's amazing. All right, Julian, we haven't heard from you yet. What's your thoughts on March Madness?
It's great. I have had a great time filling this stuff out, and it's very strange to get into the comparing kind of apples and oranges and lemons and so on. But despite that, it's fun. F purism, because I'm not a purist. I don't care about that. I will say my heart breaks not to put the purple sorcerer generator all the way to the top, because if there's one, I mean, forget having used a given funnel or adventure or supplement more than others. I have not used anything nearly as much as I've used friggin' purple sorcerer and grimoires, characters, and that's not even handling MCC and Dying Earth and XCC and all the other stuff that I would love to see. But even then, it's so freaking useful. So that just broke a little tiny part of my heart. I will say that it's been fun. My bracket sucks. It doesn't. Yeah, it broke a lot. It broke often. I think I did carry Neon through. We'll talk about that stuff later, I guess. I got a few right and I got a lot wrong, and that's that. I don't know how. I have like a piece of paper here with my bracket on it, but I have no idea how to actually score stuff in a bracket to tell you if I did better than somebody else.
Oh
And
no.
nor can I read all of my entries anymore, so I don't know what that will mean. But one thing I wanted to point out when we as in James, when we matched up Weird Frontiers against Neon Lords, I believe, right? At least in the
Oh yeah.
the eighter finals or whatever that is. Weird Frontiers is a standalone game. It leans heavier on DCC mechanics and stuff, but you don't have to have the book to play Weird Frontiers. It is its own game. Technically and legally as much as Neon Lords is. So I think they're both kind of their own game as much as each other, and they make they're good little thing in that quadrant. One thought for next year might be to do a whole bracket of supplements, like entire thing of supplements, or to do an entire thing of adventures.
Ooh.
And we could mix the Goodman stuff in there, but like just leave sailors out because that's
Sailors.
we don't need to do all that stuff. So just but everybody else, do half third party and half everything else, half Goodman stuff or something like that. And that could be pretty fun.
I'd agree. I think was it February that I said, oh, we should leave Goodman games out because we know that how that's going to end. But I think go ahead.
Do we?
This is exactly where I was going. In fact, is do we? And it would be interesting to see the journey nonetheless, right? Even if it is Sailors, on the Starless Sea is the champion, always and forever. It would still be interesting to see kind of how it would play out, or what there's a bunch of other branches to worry about in the bracket as it all comes together to that final thing. And I think that was an interesting part of this was the heartbreak in voting. And so, what was your big heartbreak moment voting, Jen Brinkman?
I found it very interesting that Crawling Under a Broken Moon and Umerica were split. So it was weird to see one of those win and the other to not go as far. And when I mean win, Crawling Under a Broken Moon made it into the 16 and then lost during the Crazy Eights. But I would be remiss if I did not share what Judge Nick is saying in the chat, that it's more of a celebration of the third party authors and products rather than a competition. I know you see it differently, James, but
no, I don't.
There were so many heartbreaks. I'm like, oh God, really? But I think it also shows the age difference, right? Of how many of us have been in here in this community for so long versus just coming in the past 2 years, or even just since the pandemic. They have a completely different view of, like Dave was saying, Carnival of the Damned is more of a classic. And so I'm seeing the age differences pop up in the brackets, definitely.
And I think it was a good thing, though, that it kind of did mix these two things together. All these, people that were newer, and then people who were nominating, who were, have been in the community longer. I'm not gonna say older. I mean, maybe that's true. But I think Nick, in fact, was like, "What's dancing Bone Horde of the Dancing Horror?" And I'm like, "What? How could you not know that one?" And I think he turned around and bought it, like, just to see, because he was up against it. So, it's fascinating to kind of have these people like looking at older products, or people looking at newer products, that maybe are kind of on the edge. It was really weird, kind of just like, because it was such a small sampling from the nominations. It's like it skewed it in different weird ways, which I think kind of helped actually make it interesting.
Now, I have a question for you, James. How did you pair these together? In which order did you end up pairing these together?
So,
a scientific reason for it, or
pairing, which, when you say pairing them together, you mean
matchups?
The matchups themselves. Yeah. All right. So everything was based on voting in the nomination form. So if I had 5 votes for, a title, and then 4, and then 3, and then 2, and 1, whoever's got 5 is the number 1 seed. So voting trumped everything in nominations. And then if I had tiebreak, then I basically had developed a system of tiebreakers, which was like, okay, what's your badge status on Drive-Thru RPG?
Okay.
Right. So if you're gold, or like Mithril, like, Hubris got in because it had Mithril status, even though it had 1 vote, it was at the very top of all the books that received 1 vote. and the next one was platinum or gold or whatever. So it kind of put these really old time books that didn't get a lot of votes at the top of those tiers, right? If it was tied for second or tied for third or wherever, it was always going to land higher. There are some, so it's a disadvantage to newer books because sometimes they're not rated. That was my second fallback is your rating. Like how many stars does it have? 4.9, 4.8, 4.7. That's the next tiebreaker. So if they're both gold, then I went up to stars. So again, there's a disadvantage to the newer titles because they're not rated as much. A lot of us, every time once you become a publisher, you can't vote in Drive-Thru RPG anymore. So, and there's a lot of people who are publishers in the DCC community. So you're really relying on your kind of your fans and whatnot who aren't publishers to come along and vote for you. And then the last tiebreaker, well, was there one more? There might have been one more, but then it just came down to like, I don't have enough information, or it's still basically tied, and I'm just going to pick one. And so that's where it kind of got into a little subjective. I picked Inferno Road over Hobonomicon at the end because I was just like, I played Inferno Road and I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That was a good choice.
Yeah.
I would say yeah, that was definitely a good choice. I would say for the bracket thing, maybe we want to clarify for people who haven't ever done this, for which there may be some, because you weren't trapped in a cubicle with with a coworker going, "Yeah, it's March Madness. It's March Madness. Do you want UCLA or do you want?" And like you're a gamer, so you're like, what are you actually talking about?
They're math involved. Now
I've seen Thundar, Ookla to the top.
Right, exactly. Which is how Ookla got his name, actually.
Yeah.
Marty Pasco and Steve Gerber, I think. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But the point being, you're supposed to fill out your bracket all the way, right? From scratch, really, right? And then he who gets the best bracket, who has the most correct entries wins, right?
He's the biggest nerd and the best nerd. Yes.
I would have done, if you were allowed to like vote round by round, like then I would have done well. But voting from the very beginning, no, I was terrible at this.
It's a crapshoot.
So mine was obviously gonna kind of stink. But James, was yours better than mine?
This is and again, I'm not a sports person. I football. I like European football, not the other one.
We call it soccer.
That's not the right name. Anyway, I basically the voting, or how I in my head decided this works, is every right answer is 1 point. And so I had 36 right out of I don't know, way too many choices probably, because there's 32 in the first round, 16 in the next round, 8, 4, 2. I don't know how much that all adds up to. If you're a mathematician, which I'm not, I would know. But I wonder if anyone has their scores, or who are watching, who would know to let us know what their score was.
I appear to have 33.
Ooh.
But I got things right in the first rounds, and then it was really,
then it goes haywire.
Yeah. Which I suppose happens a lot.
So which one of you had me advancing to the second round?
I had
everybody.
I had both your titles advancing to the second round.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah.
I did not. But I would have.
You're fired, Julian.
I never considered that anybody could not vote for frickin' Purple Sorcerer. I was like, come on, you're using it all the time. You got.
I agree. I mean, there's probably thousands of characters that things spit out.
I think they hit 1 million.
It was so vague, though. Just Purple Sorcerer as a generality. It wasn't, a 0-level character generator or anything like that. It was just the entirety of it.
I know. I can't help. The person voted. The person nominated it as is, right? That's what he put down. It's like, well, that's what they put down. So
no, it says Purple Sorcerer character gen. It's not. It's GEN gen. It's not U gen.
Oh, maybe it got cut off on my view.
It does say character gen.
Now,
Yeah.
why wasn't the like the standard DCC funnel generator? Why wasn't that plugged in over, I guess, the Purple Planet? Because you would think, or wait a minute, was it the?
No, that's it. There's just 1,000 names.
Yeah, never
Yeah.
mind.
Let's
That's
say
purple's
I had
recipe.
22 points. I would have had
22.
more, but I voted for my own things, none of which made it past round 1.
Aw.
I voted for some of those. I especially like the Elfland one.
Yeah, I did.
And
I had Elfland going to the 616.
Bless
yeah,
you. Bless you both.
I also I thought I had Carnival going deep, but I thought the Thorin hype machine was gonna carry the day. He's got sequels. He's
I
got
know.
lifting picks. Why don't you
Got
do any
masks.
lifting picks, David? Come on. No,
I'm gonna leave that to Thorin. He seems to do it very well.
okay.
So it's
Well,
He's
almost
got
like
the thirst trap Twitter up
oh
on
yeah,
there.
I
love
set
that.
my clock to his posts because I know there's going to be a muscle somewhere in the day.
I will say that was a really good seed, James. I thought putting them in the same, they weren't against each other in the first round, but so that they came up against each other that was a good one.
That was just like, once it got seated in order, then I just used like a whatever, the basketball one, and filed off all the basketball teams and put in all the titles of the thing. And there's some other, I did some artsy fartsy stuff here, but basically it's that.
I know you'd have a brain aneurysm trying to do this, but next year you should do it and actually do a prize or something for the people who actually pick all the way through and get close.
Yes, that would be a great idea. And I would definitely love to have more than one person doing it with me.
You would just have to have them submit their brackets before, so no one could cheat.
Yeah.
I figure if they take a picture and send it in, I don't know.
No, they have to send you a picture ahead of time for sure.
Yeah.
That sounds like a future James problem.
Oh man, I don't even want to like make a website or do anything like that. That would be insanity.
You could make it adventures, and then you could sort them regionally so that you have like, depending
Ooh.
on where the author or the company is from, you've got a, Northwest, Northeast, Southwest.
I like that idea.
Midwest.
Regional.
I like it too. It sounds more complicated for James, so I like it.
You guys have all signed up to help me next year. That's what the deal is.
I'm just in charge of the trophy. I'm gonna go down to the dollar store.
The trophy.
I got you, bud.
Yeah, we'll do it next year. I don't see why not. I think it's definitely fun. I enjoyed myself, even though it was a lot of work. I did enjoy putting this stuff out there and seeing all the talk on Facebook in the DCC Rocks Facebook page. Everybody was in there talking to each other and like talking about how the votes were hard and they were like crying, and I expected to see some like pictures of broken brackets, but nobody. I think only one person sent us something throughout all this whole thing. Maybe next year. See, we gotta like build momentum.
I think there was a lot of focus on voting, but there was not much focus on brackets. So I like that idea of having a prize for the best bracket sent to you, obviously well before round 1 gets going.
Yes. I will say, like, pulling this together in 2 months was probably stupidly ambitious.
Well, it worked fine.
What I don't think I heard anyone doing, which I should have done, all the publishers should have done it, has been going on Facebook and going, hey, here's a discount code on Drive-Thru RPG. I just want people to know about my product. It's up for voting, y'all. Hey, and just be very nonchalant. We all should have done that.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think Brian and David are sitting here like, well, we didn't have to do that.
No, I totally would have done that if I thought about it. I'm just kind of an idiot if you hadn't figured it out yet.
I didn't think about it until this second.
Yeah, I didn't think about it.
Oh, so second chances. We got to do it again, obviously.
Yeah. And, I think where I went wrong, James, was I was voting emotionally versus playing the sports ball part of it, where okay, I know that more people are going to vote for this, so if I circle this one, then I might actually get the right answer at the end.
Right.
Yeah,
But I mean,
that's a
both
huge difference.
but both approaches are valid. I don't
Oh
think
yeah.
I mean, you could have two brackets, right?
Certainly did not end up
Here's
the same.
my favorites, and then here's like reality, and then of course you're gonna break anyway.
Well, but that's the thing. You're voting with your as a gamer and with your heart, but you're
Yeah.
doing your bracket as a fantasy game. Oh, fantasy gamer. You're playing a meta game of gaming of game products, right?
Ugh.
And like you say, Jen, that's where you're actually trying to figure out the popularity and the matchups and the whole thing.
How about this for a trophy? Can we print like the, I guess either Closet or Carnival of the Damned or Neon Lords? Can we print the logo on a basketball and the
Ooh.
winner gets one and
Wow.
best bracket gets one? That's
We're
a
gonna
thing
need-
you can do, I think.
We're gonna
You
need a
could
lot
do
of
anything
funds.
nowadays.
Yeah.
We're gonna need some backer kit money.
But the gamers are going to be like, somebody left an orange bomb outside my house and it says Neon Lords on it. What the heck is going on? Like some
I mean,
gamers won't.
wait, but I feel like that's happened already.
Probably.
That's going on the D666 table, right, Brian?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
All right, what you've been quiet, Brian. What do you think of the tournament and how things have gone and whatnot?
It was awesome. It was super fun. It was always a blast, and me and David been at each other's throats the last two, I guess, iterations. So it's been fun talking to him. He's phenomenal. One of the best people to go up against. I didn't think I was going to make it this far. I thought Weird Frontiers was going to sweep it, but I mean, you never know. The Neon Maniacs come out for less things, so we're
That's
here.
true. I particularly love the double weird um finale or whatever for the Gonzo bracket with Weird Frontiers versus Weird Heroes.
Oh, Weird always wins.
Weird always wins. It's just that the what comes out of there is something called weird out of that bracket.
You could have put Spellburn podcast on the list. I mean, you had Purple Sorcerer and all kinds of supplements and adventures and other things.
If only somebody had thought to, I don't know, submit it.
Yeah.
Or rig
yeah.
it.
True.
Yeah. Nobody voted for us, which is,
Aw.
kind of sad.
Well,
Our time in the sun, just 8 years ago.
We're just geezers, like living out our last few breaths at the old folks' home.
true.
Here's another great idea from the chat. If you had the drive-through links to the product on each bracket.
So we did have on spellburn.net, we did have the page for the March Madness with all of the links to all of the products, preferential to physical over digital. And so sometimes there's like a mismatch, there's a mismatch or a mashup of various providers. So some things are Exalted Funeral, some things are Goodman Games, some things are Drive Through RPG. So where I could find a link to actual physical product, I did pull all that together, and it's on spellburn.net. And you guys should check it out.
Mad respect, man. That's a lot of work in and of itself.
You go to Goodman Games, you're like, oh, they don't have any physical in stock. Okay, let me look around a little bit more. So it's current as of a month ago. This stuff could be out of stock already. I hope it is for all y'all.
And so, go ahead, Julian.
Next year, I'm going to do a special offer for every vote that Nowhere City Knights gets. I'm going to give you 1 cent off on Weird Frontiers. Don't ask me how I'm going to make it up. Just vote. Vote first, ask questions later. But I'm going to make it happen. You'll get a product that you want, but you vote for Nowhere City Knights. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be tremendous. It's going to be unbelievable. You're going to love it. You're going to be sick of how I win when I am done with this. There's going to be so much winning.
That's genius.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel enlightened now.
Yeah.
All right. let's move on to Mighty Deeds, shall we? This is where it gets real. We've had our fun talking about the tournament, and now it's time to talk about our finalists. All right. Let me scroll around. All right, gentlemen, congratulations to you both for getting here to the finals. How about just some first words as we kick off the Mighty Deeds? David, you first.
First words in regards to.
You've made it here to the finale of Insanity.
Well, if anybody out there voted for Carnival, that's it's one of those things you get so many years down the road, you kind of forget about it, and then every now and then you'll hear somebody. I guess somebody maybe didn't even know it was out there, and they just picked it up on a whim. And it's not just themselves that enjoyed it, but the people maybe are new to DCC. Yeah, I think it's a really good adventure that just kind of stokes the fires of weirdness, so to speak, in a clownish kind of way. But to hear people, like almost 10 years to the point it was released, talk about it, it's always I don't know, it's like your long lost son that comes back and lets you know how much you meant to him, growing up, how much he looked up to you. And it's just a kind of a warm, gooey feeling that you get when you realize it's something that you wrote that actually gave you your start. That's the first thing I actually ever did. So, to know that it's still swimming around out there in the phlogiston, and people are digging it. It's awesome. So I'm glad you guys actually did this, just to kind of, it it's obviously gotten some votes, but I'm sure there are a lot of people probably didn't even know it was out there that maybe check it out and maybe get a cool new adventure for DCC.
Amen on that. And it's big. It's a big adventure. It's pretty long.
I don't do anything small if you hadn't figured that out yet. There may be some compensation that I'm not aware of. I don't know, but yeah, I've got a problem.
And Brian, your congratulations. You've reached the finale of Insanity. Some words about your journey and your product.
Just a big shout out and thank you to the Neon Maniacs. Like, I wouldn't be anywhere near here without the love and support from the fans. Like, they're the ones that put in the votes and got other people to vote and all that stuff. Like, I just sat back and watched for the most part. I sent out a couple links here and there, sure, but like, it's all them. It's the crazy Neon Maniacs that made all this happen for me, for sure.
That Discord was popping every time you were.
Oh, it's popping right now. They're just like, do we win yet? Do we win yet? Do we win yet? I'm like, watch the show. Like, we posted the link to the show. Like, watch with us. Like, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna win, but I'm just saying, like, they're asking.
All right, David, what was the scariest matchup in the tournament for either one of your products? Weird Frontiers was here, but Carnival of Damned. What was the one that really kind of put you on edge? The round that in the product that put you on edge.
I think with Carnival, it would have been, I think, Sky of Crimson Flame, just because I love Thorn's adventures. And if any of you out there ever at a convention with Thorn and you don't get in one of his games, shame on you, because he will have you laughing. And he's got one of those infectious energies that, occasionally you'll sit down at the table and be like, wow, this guy gets it. He knows what he's doing and he's entertaining. So there was that one. I enjoyed Sky. That I love that. So that was kind of creepy. But the first thing, I guess, the going up against the Purple Sauce for character generator, when everybody was like, "You're gonna get beat so bad," I was like, "Yeah, I know," because that's that thing is like a legendary status. So the fact that it got past that, I did not think that was going to happen. So those were probably my two. After that, I was like, "Oh, hey, maybe."
Right, right. Same question to you, Brian. What was the matchup or the round that really kind of put you on edge?
Definitely Scientific Barbarian, because that's like the MCC like compendium. It's like made by the man himself, an extension of the game. I mean, that's MCC 3PP, if you will, as far as I'm concerned. And then obviously when we went up against Weird Frontiers, I thought that was a wrap for us, but
right,
pulled through.
And so of all the publications you kind of faced along the way. Um, what was the favorite one that you know that you kind of walked away from as a victor,
You
David?
mean as far as the
Yeah, like you were matched. Maybe it's the same answers. I don't know, but like which one were you like, yes,
I
I
think
love that product and
yeah,
you know,
Carnival definitely over Levi's mommy adventure just because Levi's
oh
such a jerk of a guy. I mean, nobody likes that guy.
yeah. I don't think that's true.
No, no, it's not. I love Levi. He's awesome. So I honestly I couldn't answer that. I mean, um, it was cool to win every one of them because obviously with Carnival being so old, I didn't think it was going to go past the first round, and then it got to the second round, and with Weird Frontiers, I didn't expect to get past the second round, but um, even with Gong Farmers, think of how many people have put their DNA into something that's free and it's going to help people get into DCC. I just, it's one of those things where it's great to beat these things, but they're things that I enjoy and love myself. So it's kind of like, I don't know, kicking a puppy or something. You don't want to do
Aw.
that.
All right, and same question for you, Brian, and then I'll let our analyst ask a few questions as well. I'm hogging the scene here. Sorry.
I mean, every single one. I'm a fan of every one of the things I beat, and then some of the stuff in the brackets that I love are in there too. So it was fun, just to go up against it and test the metal, if you will. But I mean, they're all great products, all great games. So it was a blast, and it was sad to see some get beat, but it's the nature of the beast, I suppose, right?
Yeah, and a huge congratulations to everybody who got in there because there's certainly a lot of other products that didn't, right? So even to be in the second, the first round or whatever is a big deal in my mind. All right, Stefan, why don't you ask these gentlemen a question or two?
Yeah. I mean, the real question on my mind is which one, like at the very beginning, is hard to say, but which one would you have guessed back then was going to be the actual winner?
Ooh.
Oh man, that is a tough
Or
one.
which one, if it's a little easier to answer this, which one that got knocked out, you were like, I can't believe that didn't make it.
I was surprised about, I guess, with Arwich, just because I've run it so much. There's the majority of the stuff I haven't read. I hate to say that, but and I haven't played much either. So I guess the
Sure,
few
it's on
things,
your shelf. The check has been sent to the publisher. You just haven't read it, like all of us in our
Yeah.
Kickstarter pile in the corner.
yeah. Man, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I mean, when I look at there's just so many that I love that that I have actually played and or run, and so it's kind of a tough one. But I don't know, I'm kind of speechless on this one,
That's all
Stefan.
right. I won't force it out of you.
Thanks
How
for
about you,
asking me
Brian?
hard questions,
Oh,
buddy.
easily. So when I worked the cons for Goodman for a year, and there was one game that every con I've had at least 5 people asking for copies, and it was Weird Frontiers. I thought Weird Frontiers was gonna sweep everything. Like the amount of love that game gets on the road is insane. Like Jen can attest to that too. I guarantee it. Like everybody's asking for copies of Weird Frontiers always.
Oh yeah. So, I'm down here in Texas. Yeah, every con they want to know, do you guys have Weird Frontiers?
Yep, it's
And
either
I have
well
to
the
tell
oh
them, no, Dave
yeah.
has plans for more. I don't know anything.
It,
But
it's
he's
just
got
it
plans.
amazes me because that book weighs almost 8 pounds, and people will bring that to a convention. I'm like, are you crazy? What's wrong with you?
Throw your back out.
That's
Yeah,
why
right.
they want to buy it there. They don't want to have to fly with it
They
two
don't have to pay the
ways.
ship.
Yeah.
Julian, you wanted to jump in?
I was if you before I looked at the bracket, and saw the matchups, I would have said Weird Frontiers is going to win it all. I would have said no question in my mind. So, having now that we know that Carnival of the Damned actually is in the finals and Weird Frontiers is not, it's interesting. But had if you told me, well, would that be possible? I would have said, well, yeah, probably. Carnival of the Damned had a lot of love back in the day, and if people, really, and if it, got out there and stuff, I could totally see that because it's pretty well known. It was well known back in the day, for sure. But I was like, wow, I would have been like, yeah, I think Weird Frontiers, right? Anybody running a Weird Frontiers table at any convention is like sold out in a second. Like you can see that there's an appetite for it, gets a lot of buzz, and all well deserved, etc. And it's very popular. So I would have gone with that just kind of off the cuff.
Bob Brinkman has put in the chat. The carnival makes great for a funnel tournament.
Mm.
And I'll agree on that. In fact, when I heard that people were doing was a solo funnel with, like, you just sit down, a group of people sit down at the table, and the funnel's running, and as many kind of adventure spots as you get, that's how many points you get, or something like that. When I heard about this, there's a solo funnel for Carnival of the Damned at some tournament. I think it was a game hole. I was like, what the heck does that even mean? How does that even work? And that's why I wrote House of the Red Doors. I mean, there's just
Yeah,
that mere the idea of that was just like, to put something into somebody else's head.
the old tournament model, the first DCC tournament model was to have that funnel adventure where everybody just got one funnel character, and you would sit in each encounters like 6 at a time with a line extending back, and you would get stamped for how many encounters you survived, and the winner was the one who survived the most encounters, which wasn't many usually, but if you got through 6 of them or something, you might, at that point, win the game. I ran a bunch of those Death by Nexus
Right.
at Gen Con many years ago. And
Mhm.
the funny thing about Death by Nexus is it's only 6 encounters, but everybody dies. So when you finish encounter 6, you just start encounter 1. And we did that for 4 hours. We'd cycle through it like, I don't remember, 3 or 4 times or something. And that was the thing back in the day.
Does anybody remember what the very first tournament was? I can vaguely remember it at Gen Con. And which one?
The undead one, right?
I
The
can't
the
remember.
undead one.
Shambling Bones?
Shambling something.
Shambling Undead?
Yeah, I think it's the Shambling Undead.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I just seem to remember Harley was running it at Gen Con, but like you're saying, they were just
Oh.
lined around the doors.
That was a predecessor to what turned out to be the 7 Deadly Pits of Sezercon.
Okay.
There it is.
And it kind of split out to be that and the Spell Duels, which ended up in Enter the Dagon.
Right.
Wow.
Good call there, Jen.
Wow.
It's where we first met a lot of people. Would have been 2014, I think. Holy cow. Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were another set of people who ran Carnival as a tournament. The entire FLGS went into it. I remember Haley running a tournament by herself at GaryCon one year using that.
I think that might have been her first foray into running a game. But yeah, it was always awesome because she murdered so many people in the tournament like the year or so before that, and then to have her run it, I'm sure Jim, her dad, was probably pretty proud of that too.
And I'm kind of surprised to see that it's not Carnival of the Damned versus Weird Frontiers in the final.
Nobody wants to see me beat myself up.
I would have thought Sky versus Weird Frontiers, but hey. But I will say one of my favorite memories is sitting next to Haley playing Carnival of the Damned at GaryCon, and David, I think you were running that, and that's before I knew anybody. And I was just sitting there, and Haley's like, "You're gonna die." Anyway, I've told that story many times. She's like, "Don't do that. You're gonna die." And of course, you can see how that turned out.
One more question for the guys, Jen, and then I'm gonna close the voting. We're gonna announce the winner.
All right. So he said about to close the voting. You guys can write your last checks, put them in the mail, whatever you need to do.
That's
Venmo
right.
folks.
I will box you a kitten up and send it straight out tomorrow morning.
So
Express.
you know it'll be well cared for.
So do we have a question?
Everyone.
Do you want to? We want one more question before we ride out, Jen?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've covered most of it. I think what I've learned through all of this is that we should just send people to the Spellburn page instead of giving them the link to the survey first. That way they have all of the links and resources all in one place. You
Thank
know,
you.
for next year.
Thank you for that. It was published and sent out in various social media contexts. If you missed it,
Hey, the link that I got only the link that I saw in all of the social media only took me to the Google form.
there's on the Google form, there's a link to Spellburn. I
Nobody
know
looks at that.
reading is hard. I know.
No, nobody looks at stuff within the forms.
Yeah, I get it, but it was like due diligence was made. It's kind of like, you put out the fact that there's a nomination form and only 34 people show up to voice their opinion. It's like I can't make people like wake up and pay attention.
Dude, you're working with people. I mean,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
working with gamers who most gamers don't work exclusively in gaming. Who
Nope.
knew?
It is awesome that not many nominations came through, but as soon as they can visualize the popularity contest, hundreds and the floodgates really opened, I believe.
Yes. There was, I think the first round, there was like 300 votes cast, which was pretty good. And I think it dropped off around to 180 in between. The finale here has gotten, am I cutting it off? I think I'm going to cut it off. The voting cuts off at 257 votes cast.
Ooh.
Ooh, it's very exciting. Let me turn this off.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it now. Let's see. Wilma Beatty, Barney Beatty, Andrew Beatty, John Beatty, Jim Beatty,
Wow.
Esther Riggs Beatty. This is a pretty good list here.
All right. And are you ready to hear the tallies? Drum rolls, please, or something. All right. With exactly 51% of the vote, which is 130 people, Carnival of the Damned is the champion of madness.
Very cool.
That's awesome, man. I can't believe that.
Unbelievable. 125 votes for Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. That's amazing. Congratulations, Dave Beatty.
That's crazy.
Very
man.
nice.
We
Well
should have
deserved for sure.
Thank you so much, guys, for voting. That really does mean a lot. I'm really did not think that was going to happen at all.
Ryan, I am thrilled that you just swept, man. I don't know how you and your crew did it, but you're just.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's just the fans just get excited.
They were wild.
Praised.
They were wild, man. Those guys would come out and vote and every round for sure, in big numbers. And it's an interesting, like, you put it out there. It's a democracy thing. It's in a way some marketing and getting people's attention to come and vote. But you guys, both of you, have a strong fan base, right? That will show up and kind of push you through this stuff. So I'd be super proud of that accomplishment in itself, of just having building your own fan base and being able to mobilize them. That's amazing.
As they say, the cream rises to the top.
That's true.
And the public would like to know: is there a sequel in the works, Beatty?
Yeah, I think that it's going to have to happen. Next year will be the 10-year anniversary of it, and I talked to John Marr because I'd kind of like to do a few things that I'm not sure, maybe a little more not as purple saucer friendly, but it's been in my head for a couple of years how I would want to do it. So yeah, I think it's going to happen. I think that this is obviously enough of a reason to make it happen. So yeah, I think 2026 you should see more clowns in your con.
Awesome.
Well, if
Nice.
there's one thing we know in
Maybe we can make them
2025,
toxic clowns. I don't know.
yeah. If
Ooh.
we, if
Oh,
there's
there you
one thing
go.
we know in 2025, it's America will vote for toxic clowns. So
I like this idea of like the top two collaborate on something.
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah, definitely. I need more collaborations. It makes me look better.
All right. Do we have some again, congratulations, David. Congratulations, Brian. You both are amazing human beings making amazing stuff. I'm proud to call you my friends. Any last notes for the gang out there, Julian or Jen, before we say adieu?
Well, thank you, of course, Stefan, for coming in as the intermediate or the arbitrator or the non-partial.
It was a lot of work tonight. I was happy to do it. And, I am eagerly awaiting my custom basketball.
You're going to collapse as soon as you get off the camera, aren't you? Exhaustion.
Julian, do we have any legalese?
yeah,
guys-
well, hey, I gotta just call out really quick. Email us at spellburnband@gmail.com. We're gonna have a little more normal episode, I think. Maybe next month. So we have one email in the bag, need one or two more. No idea who our guests will be, but send us a couple emails and we'll probably do some GaryCon wrap up at that point in that episode because there were some great stories that I know we want to share. But so let's defer that. We'll just pretend that's our March episode. And I want to say thanks, James. This is a blast. This is something really new. It was a ton of work, and but thanks for putting yourself out there and just seeing what you could do to make it work. And I think this should be a fun tradition to keep iterating, and let's use an agile methodology to take this forward into let's get disruptive next year. Let's break stuff. Let's you know what I'm saying.
Should definitely disrupt the March Madness
Right.
industrial complex.
Right.
Well, yeah, this was a lot of fun. We will definitely do it again. So let's see. What do we have to say at the end? Oh yeah, mega thanks to Glitter Wizard and Loot the Body and St. Karloff for permission to use their music. Of course, this episode will be on Spellburn. Is it .net or .com?
.com.
It is .com.
Yes.
For everybody to listen. And don't forget to email us. I think Julian already mentioned that. Spellburnband@gmail.com. Also, thanks to Judge Jim and Bob the Voice for their support. And thank you again to our guests, David Beatty and Brian Shutter. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Game on.
Game on.
You have been listening to Spellburn.
Riding a dragon to lands of the wizard, carry the sword that the legend was on. Runes of the ancients engraved in the scabbard, a lady, a warrior, a sight to behold.
Our theme song has been graciously provided by Glitter Wizard.